Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. Today's Thriver TV is part 2 of this series, and I'm really excited to take this conversation even deeper and wider than what we did last week. So, to recap what we went through last week, we went over the reasons why you may not have been able to heal yet, despite your efforts to try to get relief from the excruciating symptoms of narcissistic abuse. We also looked at the new science, quantum and neuroscience, and the reasons why introspection and taking your awareness inside is how to get to the core of your abuse symptoms and be able to tend to them so that you can get out of the terrible loop of having the ongoing management of internal trapped traumas. And what is so exciting is that now we have the ability to release and live free of our trauma and not just recover but thrive beyond the state of self and life that we experienced even before abuse, and even if abuse is all we've ever known. So today we're going to look at these 3 following aspects of part 1 more deeply: why we can heal, how we can do it, and the way to achieve this. So before we get started, however, I want to thank you all for having the courage to subscribe to my channel and be a thriver. The world needs this awareness to break out of old paradigms of being continually sick and traumatized after abuse so that we can be something so much greater. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I want to remind you to please do so. And if you like this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. All right, so let's get into the meat of part 2. So the power to change at our core, let's have a look at that. Dr. Bruce Lipton upholds that the truth about genes holds the key. Bruce maintains that pivotal to this shift in thinking is the groundbreaking insight into the function of genes. It was always believed that our genes had predispositions that turn off and on, created that they can just turn off and on their own, which is created from our inbuilt genetics and the situations in life that we've got no control over. We now know that this is not true. Genes respond according to their environment. The environment outside of us in itself means nothing. It's our perception of the environment that is the true environment. That's what creates the environment that our cells are housed in. It's all going on in our body. We are the petri dish that is creating the state of our cells. And it's all to do with our consciousness. And our consciousness, our perceptions are already due with our already existing subconscious beliefs. It's how we view the world. So if we change our beliefs, we change our consciousness. Then we change our cells and we change our life. It's an inside-out job. If we stay stuck in the powerlessness of our consciousness, affected by what other people are or aren't doing, then we remain a victim to our life. The things and people that we've got absolutely no control over. However, as new science tells us, if, regardless of how our life looks, we take our focus inside ourselves and do the inner work to change our consciousness, then we become the masters of our biology and therefore our entire life. We literally become different and we make different choices. We stop wrestling with what doesn't serve us. And we have empowered boundaries. We stop being derailed through our wounds and triggers. We know what to do to unfold a new truth because of a new subconscious program operating within us. We may think that changing our consciousness must mean we have to think positively in the face of the painful events and traumas that we're facing, but it doesn't work. We've all tried that very unsuccessfully with our abuse trauma. Bruce Lipton says, he says this about that. People hear about positive thinking, but when they attempt to put it into practice, it doesn't work because there's a step missing. The mind runs the biology, but the important thing to recognize is that there are 2 parts to the mind, the subconscious and the conscious. And the subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. And he says, if you tell a child it's average, and that's the program, the child cannot exceed average because the brain will say, this doesn't make sense. So no matter how hard that child tries, it will unconsciously create average. The same applies for the painful, traumatic beliefs that we're carrying within us about relationships, such as the people I love hurt me, ignore me, treat me as invalid, they use my kindness for their own purposes, and so on and so forth. Or we may have the belief that if I don't give other people what they want, I'll be criticized, rejected, abandoned, punished, or even annihilated. We all know that crap, the acronym CRAP. Hence why we must go inwards with an effective method to change the program. I want to share with you the incredible revelation I had that started the Thriver movement. And it happened on what I thought was the worst day of my life. I'd been given there is no way to heal this, you can only medicate it with antipsychotics diagnosis after my psychotic and adrenal breakdown. And I didn't want to continue living, yet a voice in my head kept at me with, there is another way. Anyway, many of you have heard this story, so I'm going to get right straight to the point. So to try to shut that voice in my head up, in desperation, I ended up on my bathroom floor and I put my hands up and I screamed out, help me, I can't do this anymore. And an epiphany happened. Not just a regular everyday epiphany, rather a mind-blowing one that explained everything. It was a complete 180-degree turn away from my previous beliefs about how victimized I was and how what had been dealt to me, which was the destruction of my entire life and self, was such a terrible fate. I was shown that there was a reason for all of this. Again, not just a simple reason, rather the whole meaning of life reason. The reason being so that I could finally face my unmet, unconscious traumas and finally go free to be who I really was. Later, I was to discover through my whole quantum thriver journey that I'm not alone in this. It's in fact happening for all of us. There were so many crystal clear understandings that happened in the moments that followed on my bathroom floor. And maybe the incredible irony is that you have to be completely out of your mind to be able to receive the truth. In amongst this, I was given the 3 key steps to heal. And these steps were, number 1, acceptance of what had happened. Previously, I'd refused to accept losing both who I thought was the love of my life and everything that I thought was my life. I'd been a total victim, and all the therapists and online forums had told me exactly that too. However, I knew now that if I remained a victim and did not accept that all of this was happening for me instead of to me, that I would never be able to get free of the trauma or get well. Number 2 was turn inwards to heal myself. I understood that my current trauma and devastated life had come about because of not being healed and whole within myself. I had continually self-abandoned. I was an expert at trying to shame and blame myself into shape and reaching for distractions, keeping busy, overworking, and using other addictions and unhealthy people and situations to do anything other than face, soothe, and heal my own feelings. None of my previous strategies worked anymore after this breakdown, and I was out of options to try to avoid the pain. There was only one place left to go, inside. I knew my inner being needed me desperately, not false sources. And only by going inwards could I heal the unhealable, change myself, and forever change my life. Number 3 was find, release, and reprogram my trauma and belief systems. I knew I had to go inside with love and self-devotion to find my traumas and limiting beliefs and be able to reprogram myself back to wholeness. Even though I didn't know how to do this yet, I saw with absolute clarity the system of so within, so without, and how our inner universe relates directly to our outer universe, and that to change our life, the composition of our inner being needs to change first. And then I was catapulted into a vision of the future where I saw and felt myself thriving, being more expanded, whole, loving, wise, and powerful than I'd ever imagined myself to be, even before abuse. From that day forwards, I totally fell into line with number 1 and number 2, and I was on the search for how to achieve number 3. Even though this epiphany in no way healed me, and there was tons of inner work and releasing trauma and subconscious programming, reprogramming that I needed to do, I did have a massive immediate shift. I gave up blaming myself and others. I released the shame of where my life had gone to. I knew this was about healing me, and it was my quest. I stopped holding the narcissist responsible for my life. Instead, I turned inwards and committed to the rebuilding of my soul from the ground up. Even though I still had tons of trauma, my inner being heaved a sigh of relief. I'd made this commitment to her. I love you. I'm here, and I will do everything in my power to heal you, and I'm never leaving you again. Now that I'd showed up for myself without any medication at all, which I was told I would need to even function, the psychotic episodes completely ended forever. Yet this was only the beginning. There was still so much more to come. And there so was. So me surviving after being only 80 pounds and told I would never be normal and I would need antipsychotics for the rest of my life was already a miracle. I was medication free, determinedly self-partnered and completely soul dedicated. Nothing was more important than fulfilling my quest of healing my inner being. This vision and the knowing of being trauma-free kept calling me forward. And I'd researched many subconscious healing modalities, trying almost every one of them that you could think of. EMDR, EFT, body code, the reconnection, the journey, the list goes on and on and on. I found the most effective for me were kinesiology and theta healing, which I studied and I was certified in. These modalities combined with past timeline regression therapy, which I'd been practicing for decades previously, became a combined healing system that at the time I called holographic healing. The results for myself and other people with trauma symptoms were crazy good. So good that in a few short months after working on myself with holographic healing, I was completely free of complicated post-traumatic stress disorder, fibromyalgia, and adrenal stress. In many ways, even though I'd been wiped out in nearly every area of my life, I'd never felt so emotionally content and happy. I still had, however, a persistent condition of agoraphobia. The narcissistic relationship had included stalking, threats, and terrible occurrences. And even though I felt fantastic in safe, closed spaces, in open spaces where I was vulnerable, the trauma that was there was sometimes horrific. I tried everything to heal this. I spent thousands of dollars on credit with every subconscious healer that was recommended to me, but the agoraphobia wouldn't shift. That is until another miracle moment. I was in Koh Samui on holiday and stuck in the confines of the hotel perimeter because of agoraphobia. This was 18 months after my bathroom floor awakening, and I'd had enough of it. I really wanted to heal this condition. One night I started thinking, I was in my hotel room and I started thinking about a documentary that I had watched with Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Candace Pert, the late Candace Pert. They were talking about how the chemical manufacturing part of our brain, the hypothalamus, produces peptides. And you may have seen my Thriver TV episode about this. And if not, I highly suggest you do, because it is a key understanding. So the link to that episode is in the blog. Anyway, the very shortened version of peptide addiction is this. Science has now proven we literally get physiologically addicted in our body, in our cells, to an emotion that we're receiving huge regular rushes of. Mine was fear, specifically, I'm not safe in life. And as I thought about this documentary in my resort hotel room, something clicked big time for me. I got it. The penny finally dropped. I just somehow knew that if I could feel that emotion in my body, target the traumas that were generating that emotion, use a visualization process and intention to load up all of the core causation reasons, meaning the original traumas and attached belief systems, and let them go, that I would be instantly freed from I'm not safe in life. And I would then be completely healed from agoraphobia. So I opened my heart and mind, and as I started taking dictation from a much higher source than me, I knew this was it. My heart was pounding with excitement. And there it was, a combination of theta healing, kinesiology, quantum multidimensional truths, timeline work, and other stuff I didn't know. Yet, as I was writing it down, I knew I did know it. And I was shown how multiple traumas are stored in the subconscious energetically. Collective human traumas, past life traumas, trauma from our family's genetic history, from our childhoods, including in utero before we're even born, and then of course, our traumas as adults. And I literally saw how these traumas lodge within our subconscious. And I was shown the intentions and visualizations as codes to unlock them and release them. I was also shown that there are 3 compartments of the subconscious that require cleaning out for full healing to take place. And with these releases, I was shown the corresponding integrations with the superconscious, which is source, that is necessary to move each part of ourselves into the light, into our higher potentiality, connected with the field, so that we can actualize and become our true self in regard to any topic that is targeted. And as I applied the first ever Quanta Freedom Healing to myself, I found and released dozens of past life, collective and childhood traumas. And then after searching inside and finding there was absolutely no more parts of me that were attached to these traumas, I walked out into the main street of Chaywing Beach and I started playing in life like I never had before. I was free, I was extended, I was radiant, I was connected to everything and everyone with joy, and I'd never ever felt those feelings before. And then I remembered the vision on my bathroom floor when I was catapulted into the future. It was exactly that feeling. And later, back in the hotel room, I thought to myself, if I hadn't been given this process, how on earth would I have ever found that stuff? No therapy, including subconscious healing modalities, which were the most powerful, had ever taken me inside to my core identity, with so much laser-like intensity, drawn the multiple traumas out of my cells from all the necessary subconscious compartments, and integrated me with the oneness of myself in the field to provide a fully experienced cellular body shift that completely short-circuited a deadly physiological peptide loop that my body had been addicted and trapped in. How many decades of therapy would it take to get to that? What had just been achieved in only 2 hours? Would it have even been possible? I don't believe it would. I really, really don't. Humbly, I really want you to know Quanta Freedom Healing is not my creation. I was blessed as a really unlikely messenger to have this happen through me from a higher source that is much more intelligent than me. I could never have come up with that stuff myself. And at first, I thought this gift was just for me, but I've known for a long time it's for all of us. And such a gift it was for me. As I kept using Quanta Freedom Healing on any trigger that came up for me, extraordinary things started to happen, and very quickly. Family, friends, and colleagues who had turned away from me turned back with love. The universe was leaving me directions and love notes every day to grant me the next step to my healing. Everyday support, love, blessings, and literal miracles were showing up, ranging from a free gift from a shopkeeper to incredible business and mission opportunities. The relationship with my son, Zach, which seemed shattered beyond repair, did a full about face and we were reunited. He healed miraculously from severe substance abuse and depression. The peace, love, and wholeness that I didn't even know existed continued to build. Opportunities, synchronicities, and miracles started to abound. Ways to come back and rebuild my life that I would never have dreamed of just started showing up everywhere I looked. And I joyously followed my soul calling, and before I knew it, my vocation was a global narcissistic abuse recovery expert, which truly is the job of my dreams because I get to save lives and souls every day. I had come home finally for the first time in lifetimes. Thank God I had finally woken up from the trance, the layers of false beliefs and traumas that have been inflicted on all of us on this planet. This I now know is the simple message of life. If we have anything that hurts, there is a corresponding trauma inside us. And when we find it and release it, everything heals. That's all we have to do to claim our true life. But you really do need to go quantum to start experiencing the incredible fast results of this. Myself and thrivers who do the inner work live this as our normal. And you will only begin to understand how powerful and capable you are of enlisting all of life to co-create with you when you get alignment in your quantum consciousness. It's quantum law, so within, so without, and it's as absolute as gravity. So for more information regarding this, you may want to do some research on things like the double split experiment to see just how our own brand of consciousness affects how life shows up in our experience. And that's what quantum science teaches us. At the subatomic level, beyond the atoms of our cells, we exist as pure waves of energy, a consciousness that is interconnected with the entire field. By living this way, we start to become who we really are. Not just a little separated person having to unconsciously battle life, rather a connected being in the oneness doing our life consciously. So let's have a look at the results of inner healing the quantum way. Number one is you heal for real. There's no longer the need to have to manage trauma and the horrible symptoms and obsessional thoughts that go with it. It all actually just melts away. Number two, the narcissist becomes powerless against you. Committed narpers regularly have unprecedented property settlement and custody wins. Often the narcissist completely capitulates and grants what is fair because they can't stand being in your empowered energy without being able to hook you. Doing the inner work to detox a narcissist from every vestige of your inner being is the only way to win against a narcissist that I have ever seen work. Number three, you don't need to learn how to become. It just happens. The old paradigm of healing was that we needed to unlearn something and then retrain ourselves to learn a new way of being. And this generally took years, if not decades, researching into what happened with whom and what effect that has had on us. This equals analysis paralysis that only drip feeds, at best, any change to our subconscious programs, and at worst, cements deeper into our inner being our belief about being a victim and defective. With Quanta Freedom Healing, there is absolutely no need to know or research your story. It doesn't matter how, with whom, or when the trauma happened. Literally, by accessing the body's wisdom and power, which is always unfolding the next wound to be released, you simply load and release the dense energy in your body, and the belief system that was wrapped into that trauma disappears also. There is zero need for you to even know what the trauma or belief was for you to be completely free of it. However, don't be surprised if total answers and concrete knowing arises as a product of your true self connection to yourself, and that happens all the time. Then, as a result of the part of the process that brings in your superconscious self, filling the space where the wound was, you automatically become the new and true self, the person who knows how to be organically wise, conscious, self-loving, self-respecting, powerful, and yet graceful, while serving the field in the highest and the most honourable ways. This shift of something that may have taken decades contemporarily to achieve previously, if it ever was possible, can happen within half an hour on any topic in your life, which is the duration of a Quanta Freedom Healing. And this may seem too good to be true, but I promise you, once you start going quantum, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Number 4 is your life expands and heals in multiple areas. Naturally, we initially do the quantum inner work to get relief from the current traumas and the fears that we're facing right now. However, when clearing out all that the narcissist has triggered within you, you will realize how the limiting beliefs and traumas were holding you separated from the things in your life that you deeply desired. The things that, ironically, you had attached to the narcissist to try to gain through him or her instead of generating through self and source and life directly. So for the first real and authentic time, your confidence starts flowing, joy emerges, the ability to lay healthy boundaries comes online, inner knowing, wisdom, inspiration, and intuition start to flow through you, and your life's dreams and goals all come into view. The areas of your life that were lacking now can all heal and produce the results that your heart has always desired. And that's been my experience on steroids as a result of Quanta Freedom Healing, which is NARP, which I do any day that I feel dense, unwanted energy in my body. And sometimes I may do as many as 3 healings a week. Other times I may not do one for a couple of weeks. So the triggers that I have in my body now are minuscule. People ask about that. They say, do you still have trauma? Sometimes, but it's totally not much because I've released so much trauma. Yet absolutely back in the day, I was in the deep dark trenches of meeting and releasing my trauma for much longer periods. But why wouldn't I? Look at the results now. And I know if I hadn't done the work, 100%, I wouldn't be here now. We wouldn't even be having this conversation, and I would just have to come back in my next lifetime, if you believe in reincarnation. I certainly do, and soul evolution. And I'd have to do it all over again. I wanted this evolution. We all want this evolution. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, I think it goes something like this, what he said, we're all going to evolve. The real question is when. Will that start now? Will it be in 30 years' time or 100 more lifetimes? It all starts by turning inwards and taking on the 3 keys to heal for real. Number 1, accepting this happened for a reason. 2, turning inwards to ourselves with love. And 3, using processes to release trauma and reprogram our subconscious programs. And when we take on the 3 keys, the results are fast, they're effective, it's a new science, and it's the way that we can be free of our wounds, our old beliefs, and the horrible diagnoses that we've received, as well as our fear, pain, and our abuse patterns. As Thriver Sophie said, after years of therapy, I've had more success with Melanie's healing in less than 2.5 weeks than all of these 15+ years combined. And Linda, in a few short weeks after being discarded by a narcissist and hospitalized for a suicide attempt and severe depression, she said this: after spending weeks in hospitals from crippling depression and hopelessness, Melanie's work has changed my life so much for the better. My condition has improved so much since finding her. There are not enough words to describe what a difference this has made in my life. I'm from New Mexico and I've done a lot of energy work there, but nothing I've ever experienced compares to the life-changing miracle that this has given me. And Lisa said this: the NARP program is nothing short of phenomenal. Embarking on the journey that is NARP has opened up my world. It's brought both sides of my brain back into harmony, and I've never felt so empowered and liberated. This is sheer breakthrough, and these are super tools. And humbly, these stories are only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the life-changing and life-saving testimonies that flood into MTE every day as a result of NARP. You don't have to look far in my social communities to read them for yourself. And Lisa's right, these are super tools. And I feel so blessed that we all live in a time to be a part of this exciting paradigm healing shift, a return to truth, a quantum leap in our own healing evolution. So if you want to dive in and go quantum and start experiencing these results for yourself, I would love you to join me in my brand new 2-hour masterclass, and it is totally free. And you can join me in it by clicking the link at the top right of this video, and I can't wait to see you in there with me. And if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe so that you'll be notified as soon as each new one is released. And if you liked this, click like. Also, please share with your community so that we can help people awaken to these quantum truths. And as always, I'm greatly looking forward to answering your comments and your questions below about all of this really exciting topic. So until the next one, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.